Hi, everyone. It's Adam Coleman with Wyndham Capital Mortgage. I wanted to run through a quick discussion on a 2-1 buy down and how it compared to a price reduction. So this is more specific for listing agents and sellers to kind of get a more creative idea before they go down the path of reducing their price on the house that they're listing. So again, if you're not familiar with what a 2-1 buy down is, essentially it is a seller credit that's being used to temporarily reduce the rate on the buyer's mortgage. So if the current rate was 7%, for example, then the rate would be reduced down in year one, down to 5%. And then in year two, it would be down to 6%. So then in year three going forward, it would go to the normal amounts, and they would just still be responsible for the 7% for years 3 through 30, however long they keep the mortgage. So why is that different than or better than a price reduction? So a price reduction, obviously, the design of it is to get more buyers interested in the purchase price, hopefully leads to more offers, but does that really move the needle for buyers in terms of what they're comfortable spending? Yeah, so in this example, let's take a $500,000 purchase price and let's think that we're going to reduce it by about the same amount as what it would cost for a 2-1 buy down. So, which is about $11,000 in this example. So if you were to drop the price 500,000 to 489, what does that really do for a buyer? It basically works out to be, assuming a 5% down, assuming a 30-year fixed 7% rate, then the principal and interest payment would go down by about $70 a month. It's not an insignificant amount, but does that really change the perception from a buyer's standpoint now that they're dealing with higher interest rates, now that we're dealing with, obviously the stresses of the market that we're all dealing with? Does $70 really change things all that much? How that compares to a 2-1 buy down is you can use that $11,000 seller credit instead, keep the purchase price at $500,000, but then offer the buyer a 2-1 buy down option with the seller credit. What that does is year one, that actually brings the payment down by $540 lower than what it would be if you were to look at the price reduction. So in year one, that payment actually equates to a purchase price that's about $90,000 less than the $500,000 payment that we're talking about from before. So much more significant major impact, when we're talking about a monthly payment from a budgeting standpoint for the buyers in that first year. Even in year two, you're still saving about $242 compared to the option with the price reduction. So from the buyer standpoint, that just moves the needle a lot more. They're suddenly a lot more comfortable with that purchase price, even though you haven't reduced anything and they're still dealing with the higher rates long term. They're still going to be qualified based on that higher rate. And we're still going to discuss, making sure that they're comfortable with that 7% rate going forward, if that's the one they're choosing. But for those first 2 years, it puts them in a much better budgetary standpoint to qualify for that house, or to at least get comfortable spending for that house. So before you think about reducing the purchase price, if you're a seller or a listing agent, reach out to me so we can kind of discuss these options and see if this might be a better alternative for your listing. And then in terms of different guidelines you have to be worried about, this only applies to primary residences. And it's only for 30-year fixed, but it's conventional, VA, and FHA. So keep that in mind. There is a 680 minimum credit score requirement. So obviously for buyers that are lower than that I can't work out ways to improve their score, this really isn't an option for them. We'd have to go down a different path with seller credits and maybe permanent buy downs and things like that. But for the majority of people, if they're above 680, we're talking about a primary residence, then this would work. Again, a buy down does not change how the buyer is approved. They're always going to be approved based on the higher rate. So this isn't suddenly getting buyers that shouldn't have been approved for your house to now be able to qualify. That's not the point of this program. So if you have questions with that, let me know. Obviously, the other major thing is seller contribution limits. This shouldn't be a major concern, really, since we're talking about a primary residence. Even the minimum down payment allows for a 3% seller contribution. And any of the 2-1 buy downs that we'd be talking about should have, should be lower than the 3%. So we shouldn't even have to go quite that high. Here is a chart that kind of shows the maximums. If you don't have this handy, feel free to use this just as a cheat sheet going forward. And then in terms of calculating the 2-1 buy down cost, I'll include a link to this worksheet, but it's part of my purchase worksheet that you can use. And it's literally just takes the top 3 fields. You plug in the purchase price, you plug in the down payment, you go through and plug in whatever the estimated rate is currently, and it'll do the rest for you and calculate the seller concession that's needed for the buy down. So if you have any questions on calculating that or how it compares to the purchase reduction, please reach out to me if you have any questions. You can call or text me or email me here at this contact information. I certainly look forward to hearing from you, and I wish you the best. Thanks.